we're going to be recording this, so just wanted to let you know that in advance. You can actually ask questions via the audio. If you want to send questions in through the chat too, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But at the beginning, I just wanted to do a quick introduction. I'm David Rubador. I'm here with my husband and business partner, Byron, and we're the owners of Galeria du Beija Flor. We wanted to spend a couple of minutes right at the very beginning and just give you a little bit of a heads up of who we are and what the gallery is about, and then switch it over to Alan and having him go through his description of his art and himself and what he is working on and what he's trying to accomplish. But we're a new gallery. We had the unfortunate timing of opening up on March 5th. Had a great opening event, had several hundred people show up, and then a week later we had to close, or close our physical location. So we've been working on this for about 2 years, about putting together a gallery. Our intent on the gallery is to be really artist-centric, in that really trying to provide a really good space and infrastructure around just controlling inventory, sales, those kind of things for new and emerging artists, and giving them the opportunity to really be able to focus in on their art and then have a forum in order to be able to sell their art, as well as having events like this where we have a featured artist event where they can come in. It's more of an intimate setting and meet with people that are interested and just have a casual conversation. So normally this is our second one. We did one actually the first week we opened, which actually went really well as well. We had a great start. That first week was awesome. But we normally serve food and wine at these as well. So hopefully you did bring your own wine. I brought mine. So feel free to sit back and kind of relax and enjoy it. I am going to throw up just on the screen here real quick. I'm going to do the share screen. And let me, I want to just put up our information, see if I can find it. Sorry, I had all this ready to go. There we go. So I want to share the screen. Can you guys see that? Can you see the, put up our contact information if you're interested in just contacting the gallery. This is our contact information, our website. I'll put this up again at the back, at the end. We do have a website. It's a fully functional website. There's a lot of information on there about different artists. We're doing different videos. This particular video, when it's done, we're going to actually post this as well. And so check it out when you get a chance. That would be great. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Alan and have him go through and talk about himself, a little bit of a background on himself and what he's trying to accomplish with his art. So go ahead and go forward, Alan.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Alan.
Hi, Alan.
Hi. Thanks to everybody who is here virtually. And thank you to David and Byron for having my art and being a space for artists like me. I guess I'll just start with a little background. So I grew up in a small rural town, and I've always been drawing ever since I was a little kid. I've been really into drawing like faces and cartoons and kind of just doodling over all my notebooks and folders in high school, and that continued on into college. And I never really started painting until about 4 years ago when I moved to Minneapolis. And at that time, I was kind of dealing with some just mental health woes. And so I was looking for some sort of therapy, and art has always been good therapy for me. And so I always wanted to try to paint, but I've always been kind of paralyzed when I just see a blank canvas. And I was always I don't know how to start, which has always been the scariest part, is just making the first mark on the canvas. But I never had that problem with drawing. So I was thinking, how do I transfer that same attitude? And so I just one day just decided I'm going to be a painter. And I put on a weird little jumpsuit like I'm wearing now. And I lit a bunch of candles, put on my favorite band, and just put a big sheet on the ground, put a bunch of canvases, Luckily, I had roommates that were okay with that. They're actually in this chat right now, so that's. And I just started like throwing paint on them and just like just going with the beat of the music. And by the time I got done, I had a bunch of abstract paintings, and I did something that I normally don't do, which is like I decided to like photograph them and then put them online. And people reached out, and I had a lot of people interested in them, and a couple of people bought some of those paintings, and it kind of just went from there. I had a bedroom that I kind of turned into a studio space, and I just got addicted to painting, and I just decided to kind of merge my drawing with my painting, and that's kind of what I've been doing now with like the different figures that you'll see in some of the paintings that are in the space. And yeah, it's sort of been influenced mainly by cartoons, and then by like German expressionist painters. They're like usually dealing with internal world, so it's not so much about like realism, it's just about getting the feeling out. And that's kind of what my main philosophy is just like, this is just therapy, and it's just a good way. Like, I really want to like make it so that everybody can do this. I think that like the way that I paint is very teachable, and I think that everybody is an artist. Like, everybody used to do art when we were kids. We would draw with crayons and do all those things, and then somebody was like, oh, that isn't a flower, that's something else. And you were like, no, I'm bad at art. And then you kind of stopped drawing and doing stuff. So I want to like bring back like that childlike mind and just like start and have no judgment. And as you'll see with my process, that's like what a lot of it is just kind of accepting whatever's coming and not judging yourself so harshly. Yeah, so that's kind of like a background about my process and stuff.
So Alan, I have a few examples of the paintings that you have here at the gallery. So I can bring those up and share them on the screen. And you want to talk a little bit about each one of those?
That'd be great.
Right. And then we can go into questions for a little bit, and then maybe then you can go through your demonstration if you'd like. So
that'd be awesome.
With that, so can everybody see that?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Good. All right. Okay.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. Go ahead. So this is one of the paintings that we have of Alan's at the gallery. So Alan, you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah. So this is like an interesting piece, actually. So it's called Tethered, and with a lot of my pieces, I don't really like go into it with an idea of what it's going to be. There is one that we'll see later that I really like sketched out beforehand and went in. But usually I just start with a blank canvas, do the process, and then about 2 to 5 hours later, I end up with a result that I feel comfortable with. I usually try to get it out in one sitting. And so sometimes I don't even really know what the message is necessarily. I'm just sort of like listening to I'll start with the background, and then when I go to the figures, I'll like let them. So it's almost like I'm carving them out through like carving them out of wood, but it's with paint. And I let like the way that their body is formed kind of dictate the next like narrative. So like this is how that kind of happened. So I didn't really. This isn't one where I felt like this was coming out from. And sometimes like it's coming from me personally, like if I'm feeling anxious, then it kind of gets into the art or whatever. This was one that just sort of came out really easily. And it felt like it was just wanting to get into the world. And so when I finished it, the intent was that it's just a woman tethered to a lifesaver like tube. But when I got done, I realized, my girlfriend realized that it looks kind of like a vagina that she's tethered to. But like, so maybe, I guess I don't feel necessarily comfortable like projecting what it could be. But like, it was just interesting what my girlfriend thought about it after I painted it. And like,
Sure.
So that's kind of that one.
All right. We'll jump to the next one. This one is called Worry.
Yeah, so this one actually is basically that. Like, it's my feeling of worry and anxiety. This one's kind of interesting too, because the background, like usually I'll just do totally an abstract, and then I'll put lines, just black lines that kind of separate to make the walls and the floors. But this, I really kind of went into more detail, like with the couch and everything. And there's a lot of themes that are throughout mine. So like the 11s in the clock. 11 is like a weird number to me that I've always just seen often in my life. And it kind of like makes me think, like it returns me to the present moment. Because like whenever I see an 11, I'm just immediately kind of like, oh yeah, like be here now. And the outlets are in a lot of my thing, because I feel like technology is kind of like you can't escape it in our world. So a lot of mine have to do with technology, and that's what this one is about. Like the TV on the ground smashed, and he's very worried in this photo, and it's kind of just this is just definitely me getting my anxiety out onto a canvas.
All right. And then the next one is, I believe this one is called 10 a.m. Coffee.
This one's called 10 a.m. Automation.
Okay.
And this is one that I like had this in mind. So I kind of just like thought about this one day. I had the idea of this robot holding a balloon. And I also, this thing that's kind of with a lot of my paintings too, I like to draw text. And so what I have in this one that's actually duct tape that I like paint over, which kind of has a cool effect. And this one was just pretty much like, there's a song I was listening to by the Black Keys called 10 a.m. Automatic. And I was listening to that when I was painting this, and I was thinking like of automation and just like sort of the exchange of like, here's your balloon. We're computers and we're here to replace you. And so, yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of a dark humor, which I also like to have in my in my art.
Yeah. All right. Before we move off of these, does anybody have any questions they want to ask or any comments they want to share? And just remember to unmute your mic if you want to jump in. All right. We can come back to them too.
I just had a quick question.
Okay.
Alan, you mentioned something about duct tape, and I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
That's what I was looking.
In the one with the robot here, the text is where the yellow is. The big blocks of yellow are actually duct tape. And then I just paint over them with black lines and then add the text on top of it. And it just, I don't know, it kind of adds like in cartoon, like in a comic book kind of text that I like.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Back to muting myself.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Alan, I can't stop laughing at this one.
Well, thank you.
I had to consider whether or not I was gonna unmute myself to let you know that I just was like laughing hysterically over here.
Well, that makes me very happy. So I'm thankful that you unmuted yourself.
I was like, cool, I want that one.
Well, it is for sale on their website.
So I'm going to bring this up. So we went and grabbed it. So you can get a little bit closer look. You know, and I hadn't noticed that was duct tape until you just mentioned it. Yeah. So, and now I can see it. It's a little hard. You won't be able to see it, I don't think, on the video, but yeah, I hadn't caught that before.
Yep. So yeah, and there's like, I just love playing with those, and there's so many different colored duct tapes, and yeah, so I do that quite a bit.
I have to say, for me, this one here is my favorite.
Ask him about that.
Oh, we do have another one here. Alan actually has 4 of them at the gallery, and here's the other one, the Love Yourself. I didn't have an actual picture of it on the site here, but Alan, you want to talk about this one as well? It looks like it has duct tape on it as well.
Yeah, that one's an example too of like what I was talking about with there. It's just a complete abstract painting in the background, and then I add the lines in there, so it kind of looks like a room that she's in. And that one, yeah, has the duct tape as well. That one is like kind of contradictive a little bit, like where she's smiling and it says "Love yourself," but it looks like blood splatter kind of in the background, and it's just sort of about like how you can hold two contradictive things at once, especially with feelings and emotions, like how
Yeah.
you're asked to go through the world without maybe sharing what you're actually feeling, and you have to be like, I'm good, thanks for asking, but you're actually like, ah. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there.
Definitely see it. Hey, one thing I did, before you do your demonstration, the one thing too that I just wanted to highlight is your art is very affordable. Did you want to touch base on that a little bit? I know you and I talked a little bit about that before, and you have a philosophy really kind of behind that. But it is definitely your art is very good. It's very interesting. It's fun, and it's also very affordable.
Yeah, so yeah, that's very important to me. So like for me, a lot of the people who have bought art from me are also people who create art. And so I know what it's like to be an artist and like how difficult it is to make a lot of money. And so I want to keep it affordable for people because I do believe that art is for everybody. I don't think it's just for people that like have a ton of money. So yeah, I just think that that's kind of the main reason. And being like an artist who doesn't have like a ton of money, I like being able to like work on just any sort of thing, like even if it's cardboard, and stuff like that. So like I just want to be able to make it accessible for everybody of different levels of incomes. Yeah.
All right.
I had another comment. So I don't know who said that he started laughing seeing the picture, but also earlier you said that your girlfriend just had a different idea about your art. And I've seen your pictures over the last years, and this is something that I love, that it's not that people look at the picture and say, pretty landscape, and then that's it, but people actually start discussing and they will see different things, and this is totally what you like, it's not like, no, but I wanted to draw this. You want to spark discussion, and you don't want to have one picture for everyone, but you try to create different feelings and for whatever the person itself feels. So I'm really grateful for this kind of art.
Well, thank you, Teresa. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. I don't like to put too much of like boundaries or limitations on what I'm doing. I do like want it to be open to interpretation. And I do love, like, I think that's what I love most about art is just how every person has a different response to every single painting. And so I definitely want to have that in my own art. Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to, you were going to do a bit of a demonstration this afternoon?
Yes. So hopefully, I don't know, can everybody see everything all right? So basically, normally right now I would be kind of like dancing and rocking out to some music, but I'm not going to do that. But I will show you, I just have like a bunch of colors right now that I just squirted out, and I'm just like ready to start dipping my brush and going. So I'll do kind of like a less long background, but during this portion of painting, I like let everything just be what it is. So anytime that it looks like I might be making a mistake or anything, I count it all as just like adding layers to what's happening. And this is just the fun part where like I get to just completely get out of my mind, and it really gets me in the flow and helps me add to the next process. So I'll start adding now. And I'm just doing some Bob Ross action right now. Happy trees. No. But I like to use too like a really like square brush head for this point. Because it mixes well with white and kind of blends stuff in together. And then I always have a handy towel.
So again, So Alan, one of the things I just wanted to be sure of, you said that you didn't have any formal training, right?
Correct. Yeah, I had I did do some art classes in college, but nothing like, I never had any training in painting. So I sort of just picked up everything as I went along, which was actually kind of more fun for me because I was able to like explore and kind of play at my own pace. And I guess, yeah, that is what has worked the best for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then, yeah, like every once in a while, like if you're dancing and jamming, you just kind of throw in one of those.
So music is a big part of your creative process.
Yes.
All right.
Big part.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then sometimes, yeah, like, I don't know why, but every once in a while I'm like, this isn't the way that it is. It's this way. And then I kind of switch it up. But right now I'm going to show you kind of what it's like to create like a person. So I'm going to draw, I'm going to make a face and kind of go from there. But I like to add, white really just is a good color to start with mixing because it kind of blends with everything. And then I can add on top of that. But here I'm just sort of like moving the brush and the paint around until I start to see some sort of a face. And I'm already starting to kind of get there. So once you start to have that, you can start to kind of zoom in a little bit more. So as you can see, this looks kind of like the outline of a person. And sometimes to help me too, paint is like, people kind of get scared with paint. You can really like maneuver and erase things in a certain way. But so I like to kind of like give myself an outline with some darker colors just to kind of go by, but I can paint over these. So this is not like permanent. But also, as I said, I feel like this process is very like teachable, and I've actually taught it to some friends and my girlfriend, and they've had very positive experiences. And I guess like ultimately I would like to teach it to people because I believe it can help them as much as it has helped me, just kind of letting go of how things have to be. Like I'm very much, this is the same way that I would doodle. Like I just sort of start going, and I don't dwell too much on like, uh-oh, I put the wrong color here. Like it's gonna turn out. It's gonna be a face no matter what. So let's just see who this person is. Little happy brush strokes here. Pink is nice around the cheeks. Some rosy cheeks. I'm just gonna do a quicker. I can kind of get lost in this phase and get really it's so weird. You just sort of get mesmerized after a while, and you just can keep going. But yeah, let me add some eyes. And I've actually done a lot of like live painting. I used to do live painting for a comedy show where people would put in suggestions for something they wanted to see as a painting. And then by the end of the show, I would finish it, and then we would give it to them. And so that was pretty cool. And some really random paintings that are existing now in the world. So I kind of got pretty good at being able to paint pretty fast, because especially in that situation, I had to have the painting done by like the second act. So it was like 40 minutes or so that I had to finish a painting off stage.
So do find that when you're doing a painting like this, do you typically get pretty much through it in one sitting, or do you keep going back to it?
Yeah, it's usually I do it in one sitting. So, and sometimes it can be just, yeah, like I might be here 6 hours or sometimes I'll just, it'll come really fast and it's like a 2-hour painting. But sometimes like there are instances, especially when I have like really big canvas that I, spent some money on, I'll paint that for a long time, I guess, and I'll come back to it. But yeah, for the most part, I like to really just like, it's like a feeling that I'm feeling like I'm capturing. So I just want to get it out as fast as I can, before I like lose it. That's kind of what it feels like, I guess.
So just out of curiosity, where do you think the duct tape came from?
That was I think I had some one day, and I just was in a weird place where I didn't like how the painting was looking, and I just slapped a piece of duct tape on it. And then I was looking at it, and it really reminded me of, like in comic books, just how the text appears on the page. And I wrote on it. I can't remember which one was first, but I just remember slapping a piece of duct tape on there and just kind of letting it happen. But yeah, basically, so once you get to a certain phase, I'll kind of, you can, the main thing that makes everything really pop is at the very end, which I can kind of just get into now, is the black lines. So that's a really big thing in Expressionism. If you look at different artists at that time, just these bold black lines that kind of outline things, they really make everything pop. And I'll add those. So it's basically kind of like, now it's almost like I'm doing a sketch on top of the color.
So what are your hopes for the future, Alan, as far as your artwork?
Yeah, I want to continue to just grow and explore, and I would like I said, if I could end up like kind of teaching this method to people, I would really enjoy that. Just bringing, like, because I really think like sometimes when you're doing as an artist, it's like easy to get sort of isolated.
Yeah.
So I really like when I've been able to do like participate in events where there's multiple artists. So I collaborate with people a lot. I've collaborated with dancers. I just did a album cover for a musician. I want to keep doing things like that where there's collaboration and just challenging myself to do some different things. Like the artwork for the album was really interesting because he wanted it to be all black and white, which is like really not what I do. So I usually have really bright colors. So that was really interesting.
And I think that was one of the things that caught my eye with your work was your colors.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know,
I love.
they really popped. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I love. Like, if I always buy like neon paints a lot. I just love really bright colors. I think it's just kind of like, that's what my internal world feels like. It's very bright, and every feeling just sort of is full of color. So, yeah.
And that was going to be my next question, Alan, is what other venues have you had, an opportunity? Have you found it hard to be able to get your work out there for people to see?
Yeah, I think when I first started, yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the harder things too. I think as artists, we definitely judge ourselves pretty harshly based on like, is it being seen? But I also really appreciate that time that I had with myself to kind of just like cultivate my process and also just like play. And also now I just have like a huge body of work that like I'm able to, you know, put different amount of paintings and sell them and put them in spaces and still like have a bunch of work at my place, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I've done stuff. I had a show not that long ago that actually got extended due to the COVID stuff in Lanesboro, Minnesota, which is really close to where I grew up. I've done like, they had a piano on parade program in Minneapolis. I've done that before, where you paint a piano that is up in town.
Oh,
Yeah, we've seen
Yeah. And I've done different things, like they have like art battles where you all are like up on stage with a bunch of artists, and you're kind of trying to, you only have a limited amount of time to paint something.
Yep.
And then the audience kind of votes through applause. But yeah.
So it looks like your studio is in your living room.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like we kind of have it, like we created kind of an art space. My girlfriend is a dancer, and so we created a bedroom that we just kind of turned into just a space to do art in. We don't really have any technology in here, so we just no distractions, and we can kind of. She has furniture. Yeah, no furniture and plants. Just lots of plants. Yeah.
Good oxygen.
Good oxygen for sure. Yeah.
I think I've seen you many times to paint people and faces in detail. Do you ever see yourself in them or other people, or is it like you're creating this person at the spot?
Yeah, it's really weird. I have like a weird belief behind that. I sort of feel like maybe like in another universe, this person exists somewhere, and like I'm just like listening. It's sort of like, I don't know if anyone's read Big Magic, but that's like a really good book, kind of about like creative energy. And so I kind of feel like almost maybe this is some person somewhere, and I'm seeing them in a way that they wanted to show themselves. And because it's so weird, because they come out of nowhere. Like I don't know how to describe it. And they all have like their own personality. So maybe you can see a little closer here. So far,
yeah.
But there's just like very subtle energy from people's faces, where you can just, pick up on different emotions and personality traits. And I've always been fascinated by that aspect of things. And so, I guess that's kind of been the main, I definitely, when I try to paint, sometimes it's weird. A friend or somebody will pop up. So I've had that where I've been painting and I'm like, oh, that looks like my friend. And then I'll like sometimes just be like, hey, you showed up in the painting. Like, and then if you want it, you can have it because must have been for you. So I've had that happen before, where I wasn't intending to paint a friend of mine, but they showed up. But yeah. And this, okay, so sorry, I just sort of did this unconsciously. I'll just do a thing here. This is like kind of a theme that happens every once in a while with me, where their head is sort of like a mask, and there's like, that's a screw. So I have a lot of people with like screws in their face and their body, because it kind of like makes me feel like no matter what in life, like if you start to tighten one spot, another spot loosens up. Like in everything in your life. Like if you try to focus on your career, then your family might suffer, or if you like, so that's kind of like a theme that has kind of continued to show itself. But yeah.
But I also feel like sometimes you have some political aspects. Maybe it's just my interpretation, but you know, like machines taking us over, or people being so critical about themselves and trying to reach this perfectionism, and then like ending up being depressed over this. Is it only my interpretation, or do you feel like this?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I definitely have a lot of like, just. I feel a lot of disconnect, I think, with the like things happening in the world. And so, yeah, I think that's like a big part of it is the just, I think my political thoughts on those kind of things definitely like show through. Again, I don't really like, I usually don't go in with that attitude, but I'll finish a painting and I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh yeah, okay. Like this makes sense with what's happening in the world, or this makes sense with how I'm interpreting things or feeling about the world right now. So yeah, I definitely, but it's so weird because it happens after, like it'll happen a couple days when I go back and I look at it, and then I realize like, oh, that was what was probably happening. And so it's also nice to just, for that reason, to kind of be like, where am I? Like, what am I feeling right now? And I can go back, and it's almost like I try to look at this as like a journal, like in some ways. It's like my journal that I'm just sharing with people, and it's just a different way to have a journal. And yeah. So. And then I also have like this thing where to add different texture and stuff, I really like doing these kind of hashtag like crosshatch things for shading and stuff. So I have no idea where that came from, but that's just been the technique that I've sort of adopted to like shade. Again, it's really good for doing stuff fast. And just to show you, I guess I could do this real quick. Got some duct tape handy.
Keep that roll close to your work, don't you?
It's always by, yeah. And yeah, you can add text to just kind of go around with black to make it kind of stand out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And that's kind of, I'll write something on there and.
Now you be sure to bring that to the gallery.
Yes.
Have you had an experience like this before where you've had to talk about your work while creating work without
No.
having it? Yeah. How does this feel? Like
Yeah, it's really cool. It is like, because that's what's so difficult when I'm trying to like describe it. because it's so in the moment what I do, I feel like is. So also like when I show it at the end, it's harder to like be like, this is the whole thing. It kind of feels like I'm only taking a snapshot of it. So I like being able to like have people along for the ride, I guess. But yeah, then this is just my signature that I guess I stole from my brother when I was little. He's okay with it now, so. But yeah, this is kind of, I don't know if you can see.
Oh, you ain't an artist.
You ain't
Very
no
cool.
artist.
I love it.
That's just the thing that my brain says sometimes when I have to. Sometimes I like to write things to be like, that isn't true. So, but yeah, that's that.
Well, very, very, very cool. We went from beginning to the completed painting there. It was like, I didn't expect you to go spend that much time and putting it together. That was great. Anybody have any questions they want to ask or comments they want to say?
His mother and father are really proud of him. He is a good painter.
Thanks, Mom. Love you, and Dad, I see you.
Well, we are really fortunate to be able to have found him on Marketplace.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so happy with what you guys are doing, and it's really cool. Because there's a lot of I've had a lot of experiences where people reach out and then they're like, oh yeah, and we want you to pay a bunch of money to have your stuff, and it's tough. So when there's a really good opportunity like this has been, it's been a great experience. So thank you again.
Oh yeah, no, we're very happy to have you here. I love your art.
And we're waiting for the chance to get you actually into the studio.
Yeah.
Yes.
We missed you at the opening event, but
Yes.
hopefully soon.
Definitely, for sure. I would like to come paint there too sometimes.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. That would be great. So
Awesome.
maybe that's a good time to kind of transition to that just a little bit. So as I mentioned at the beginning, what we're trying to do with the gallery here is really have a place and a space for people, primarily new and emerging artists, although we do have some established artists here as well. But really with the idea of having kind of the gallery space and the infrastructure to support artists so that you can focus in on your work, and then we'll focus in on running the gallery and helping to sell your work, but really keeping this artist-centric, really trying to elevate the work that you're doing and other artists are doing, and making that really the core piece of the work. We actually have a really diverse group of folks that are of artists that we have. A lot of people that are local. We also have some folks that are global. So we have a woman from Italy that is part of our, she's a painter from Italy, has joined us, as well as we have a photographer from Brazil. So we have a little bit of a international flair to what we do as well.
New Zealand.
We got somebody from New Zealand as well. So it's kind of all over the place as far as geographically, but really with the theme of supporting new and emerging folks and helping to get that in, kind of helping to for you to do your work and us and be able to make a living at it as well. So with that, if there's any more, does anybody else have any questions or comments they want to have? Otherwise, I think we'll probably be moving to wrapping up here in a second. So no other questions or comments? So I'm just going to do a little plug for us at the end here, if I could. I'm going to bring up, do the share screen again and just bring this up. So this is just our contact information. Again, our physical location is beautiful. we spent a lot of effort trying to design this gallery space to be really welcoming and inviting. We have couches in here. We got, like I said, we serve food. You can come in and chill out. Unfortunately, you can't do any of that right now. So a week after we opened, we had to actually close our physical location. But Alan's work is on our website. So if you go to our website, you'd be able to see that, as well as a lot of other artists' work on there. We also, we have two things on our website. One would be the fine art, which are paintings and other things that people are doing that are artists that are part of this work, as well as we have what's called Do Infatuation, which is really more around where we either find one-of-a-kind items that are kind of unique that you can't find anywhere else, or handmade stuff such as jewelry. We have
Ceramics.
potter, a couple, some potters that are on board, things like that are on there as well. So check us out. We're having, I will admit, we're having kind of a tough time right now just because we just opened and then we had to close. So I'm really trying to figure out how we can keep moving forward, but we will keep moving forward. We will make this a success. Just a little bit of a setback in the short run. So with that, I'm going to jump back to Alan, and if you had any last words you wanted to say before we move on.
Yeah, if you want to check out more of my art, you can follow me at alwilt on Instagram or go to my website at alwilt.com. And thank you all again. You're all wonderful, supportive people, and I love everyone.
And I want to thank all of you for being here. And I want to thank Alan particularly for taking the time today to give us a demonstration and
Our first Zoom.
Our first Zoom meeting, a little bumpy at the beginning, so apologies for that. Next one will be better. Hopefully in the future, we'll all be gathering in the space versus doing it via Zoom. Honestly, I've had enough Zoom meetings in the last couple of weeks that I go Zoom for a while. So with that, again, thanks to everybody for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for painting, Alan.
Alan. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Studies.